Hey, how you doing? This is Coach Carrawell Bailey, and welcome to another episode of Life and Basketball. And on this show, this is where we discuss and talk about how life, as well as the game of basketball, go hand in hand. And so we have a special guest on today, another special guest, and we're going to talk about how this little orange ball has oftentimes helped and sometimes even saved the lives of those that have come in contact with it. So give us 1 second and we'll be right back to start the show.
So many teams their team morale is going down because they aren't running the floor, and I'm talking about on defense. So many teams are getting beat back on defense to where before they know it, they're down 8, 10, 12 points. Teams that make runs on you, generally those runs are made in transition or fast breaks. Teams don't generally make complete basketball runs in a half-court set. Teams really don't make runs strictly in a half-court set. Those runs build up momentum due to teams not getting back and running the court, running the floor on defense. So now they're able to get an easy shot. Now they're able to get a quick transition bucket. Now that confidence and that momentum is building up. Now they're able to, bang down a three. Now, they get it going, the crowd get rolling, the other coach like, timeout. And then when that other coach do that, now the momentum is that much greater. Does that make sense? So if teams really just run the floor on defense, they'll solve half their problems. If you can get back on defense and stop a team's ability to get easy buckets, well, now that team has to think. You see how everything goes back to this? Now that team has to think. Now they have to call that play. They have to run that play. They have to try to figure it out, but they have to try to figure it out on the fly, as opposed to now they're just playing off instinct and just off reaction because that momentum is building up and now they're just totally charged up. So run the court, run the floor on defense.
All right, our special guest for our show today. Again, our show is being sponsored by Bless the Ball Consulting Group, but our show, our special guest today is a basketball legend in his own right. If you understand basketball, if you understand the history of basketball, the trajectory in which basketball is now going, you have to give flowers in which they're due. I ran across this individual from seeing him play on TV to running across him, working with him at summer camp was our introduction. We'll get into that. But nevertheless, this individual is a winner, right, in his own right, high school, college, professionally, coaching, everything from state championship all the way to ABA championship. And we'll discuss that. But I want to introduce to some and present to most an amazing player, an amazing coach, but an even better individual. So I'd like to introduce the associate head coach of Duke University, my guy, Chris Carrawell. CC, how you feeling today, man?
I'm good, Coach. How are you?
Man, I am doing amazing, man. Thank you for spending your time here. And we are going to just help the people today, right? So this show is just more professional and personal development to get people to understand how life and basketball, how they kind of go hand in hand. And so before we get into it, can you just explain to people a little bit about who is Chris Carrawell, the person?
Chris Carrawell, the person. Well, we always have a story, and my story begins in St. Louis, Missouri, inner city, North St. Louis, single parent household. I'm the oldest of four, three younger siblings, grew up poor, without a father, My biological father didn't meet him till I was 21, but I give my mom a lot of credit. She was strong-willed, held the family together, humble beginnings, and through basketball, um, I was able to, you know, play at Duke University, earn a scholarship to Duke University, play professionally overseas. But what I'm most proud about is being a husband, being a father to two young men, and but also to give back to the game of basketball and coaching. It's truly a blessing. I wouldn't be here without the grace of God and having a strong mom to support me.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. And so I'm a visual learner. And so as we talk, I take notes, right? So if I'm looking down, I'm actually writing, taking notes. But I heard you say that you grew up St. Louis, North Side St. Louis, and single parent household, three siblings, three younger siblings, family of four. Talk to us about, and so when I grew up, my dad used to always say, I'm from St. Louis, so you got to show me, right? Like he
Yeah.
always said,
The
you
show
got to
me state. The
show me,
show me
right?
state, baby. You gotta
Show me.
show me. You gotta show
Right,
us.
right. And so, can you talk about how growing up on the north side of St. Louis, single parent household, watching your mom provide for you and your three younger siblings, like, can you talk about how that molded you into the person that you are today?
It was everything. My mom was really tough, disciplinarian. But and her number one rule is that we had to go to church every Sunday. So
Mm,
you couldn't watch TV, you couldn't go outside and play, couldn't play video games. Back then, the video games was Super Mario and Tecmo Bowl, but
yeah,
we had our thing, right? Uh, but like that came first. God was the leader of the household,
mm,
which was important in that time because in my neighborhood there were no fathers.
mm.
A lot of guys that I played with, were friends with. There was no fathers in the neighborhood,
Okay,
so that was tough, man. And that's during the '90s, '80s, '90s, where the crack epidemic hit the states, the inner cities, and then also gang culture. Really was prevalent in St. Louis. So we had it was tough, man. But the game of basketball, I will say, I was able to. I watched Dr. J and Magic, back then when the NBA came on CBS,
yeah,
and so just fell in love with it. And
yeah,
that was everything. That kept me out of the streets. One day you hang out with a friend, you playing basketball one week, then the next week, because there's no money, there's no fathers, you're trying to, provide for
right,
yourself and wear nice clothes and nice shoes.
right.
Those guys they turned to the street life just like that.
Mm, mm.
And so I was fortunate to have a strong mom that kept us in the church, the backbone of the family. And through the game of basketball, I was able to stay on the right side instead of going to the left side.
Now, when I'm listening to you talk about your mom and her putting like God is the head of the household, and you know, it sounds like she wasn't just talking it, she was walking it also, right? And
Definitely.
you mentioned discipline, but you also mentioned hanging with a group of individuals who one week they can be on this side, and the other week, due to circumstances, they can go to the other side. How impactful was that early discipline, even of no TV, no video games, to go to church on Sunday? But how was that early discipline? How did that help you say, I'm not going to be one of them dudes that next week I'm on the other side?
It was important. Important. It was the most important. The most important. Because if you don't have that early on, I was always tall as a kid. So, by a certain age, I'm taller than my mom. The influence of the streets is high, man. It's every day. You see it every day. And so my mom, instilling that in us and being tough.
Yeah.
She preached it every day. That was every day she was on us every day. and you needed that because she raised 3 boys, 3 young men,
Oh,
and then my sister being the youngest. But back then, man, it was you had to be tough. You had to be tough minded, and she was. She graduated high school, didn't obtain a college degree, but what she lacked in, you can say, in book sense, book
yeah,
knowledge, she
yeah,
had it all in common sense. So she had a
absolutely.
PhD in that. Yep.
Mm. Now it's funny that you say that, right? Say that your mom had a PhD in common sense. What I've come to realize, you maybe have realized it also, in today's world, common sense is not common anymore, right?
No,
So,
no.
so you being the big brother, um, how how challenging was it for you to not only be disciplined in your own right with what you got to do, and now with sports and all those things, but also to help your mom steer your siblings in the same direction?
Man, it was everything because they looking at me. And I give you an example. I'm at Duke in college, and back then, I don't know how it is today, but back then, the guys that were in my neighborhood, the drug dealers, the gangsters, they looked out for the athletes.
Yeah.
And so they protected me and also protected my family.
Mm,
But my freshman year in college, we're still living in the hood, at that time. And so my brother, who's right up under me, who's now in the military, Guam, married, great family, he's done well. He's trying to make some money, so he started trying to sell drugs.
mm,
And I come back home, and I never forget that my friend, who was the kingpin, told me about it. And I said, "Look, man, he can't. You can't have him out there on the street. You gotta make sure that that doesn't happen."
right,
And because of the respect um, that he had for my mom and
right.
me, he looked out and made sure that my brother didn't go that route. And he didn't
Hmm.
have to do that. He didn't have to do that. But
Yeah,
that was and so having that example, I had to set the example to make sure that they didn't follow the message that my mom was putting in the atmosphere.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So now you go to Cardinal Ritter in St. Louis, and we came up one year when I was coaching at Hyde Park, coaching high school. We came up to St. Louis, played in a tournament with Vashon. Cardinal
Mm.
Ritter was there, and some other ones. So I know a little bit about Cardinal Ritter. But talk to me about your early high school career before things blew up.
Yeah, well, man, I grew up on the playground, man, playing on the playground till I was 16. And so I became kind of I hate to talk about myself like this, but like a street legend.
Yeah. So he blanked out. Now he is in Vegas, right, for the summer league. So uh, hold up, give us a minute. This is live television. Nigel, what up, my guy? Talk to me. How you doing, man? Talk to me. There you
Yeah,
go. Yep.
there you go.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you was talking
Okay.
about playing on the playground till you was 16.
Yeah, playground. I want to say this about myself, but I was a playground legend. But I fell in love with a player named Julian Wingfield that attended Carter Ritter. He was really good. I wanted to play like him, and so I ended up going to Carter Ritter. Uh, and then Jahadi White, who played in the NBA at the time, was also at the high school. And
Mm,
so a good friend of mine, Lauren Woods, and we ended up going to Cardinal Ritter, and was able to play for the legendary Coach Preston Thomas. and the rest is history. And the reason why is because Jahadi White was he was the first guy that I known about that was able to go outside of the city of St. Louis and play college basketball. At that time, a lot of people stayed home. They went to St. Louis U, Larry Hughes did, or they went to Mizzou. But Jahadi, he attended Georgetown.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, Jahadi going to Georgetown. Wow, that's different. I said, and he's getting out of St. Louis.
Right.
So I was like, it kept us open-minded. Like we can get out of there. And so my high school was everything, man. All black private high school in the city of St. Louis, North St. Louis, one of a kind, co-ed. And through that journey, really my upbringing, the strong African American leaders and teachers that we had at the school really developed me for Duke. Yeah, they did. Yeah, man, they really did.
How so?
They really did. Just because, you see the image of these guys. They were leaders, they were teachers, but myself not having a father figure, they provided that as well. And so times where, you got a person to talk to that, you know how it is. Like we can say some stuff to our son that moms can't do.
Yeah.
Those guys provided that for me. My high school coach and amongst other men in the school. And Carter Ritter was everything. And that was the beginning of the journey. And I never our high school, everybody's still so close. It was such a small school, but that was the beginning.
So can you talk about, and as a coach, as a former head coach, but as an educator, can you talk about the importance of having Black male educators at that developmental age? Like, because I'm hearing it in your voice as you're describing it, and I can hear you reflecting on, like, still being in them hallways and still hearing that. Like, can you talk about, like, the impact and the importance that, because a lot of people may not, and you may not have an opportunity to be in that environment, to where you have men, Black men, that can pour into other young men, right? The women do an amazing job. But can you talk about how, and your mama instilled that discipline, so you had that going in, but what did they give you that you was missing?
They instilled some discipline. I remember my high school coach, who my freshman year, my grades weren't up to the standard. And I remember him. Now they can't do this now. He'd be in jail by now. But back then, my high school coach was from Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
So he put hands on me.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you doing this, pow, 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 pow.
Right.
At 15 on my birthday, I just turned 15. So it's like, wow, this cat is crazy. And but it was just like, look, you're gonna act, and you're gonna, in the classroom, like, I don't care about your basketball talent. You're gonna have it all. And that discipline, man, is something like when a male figure says something to you, to a young Black male at that time, that's impactful, and you kind of, moms is moms. At the end of the day, they may be tough, but they still your mom.
Yeah.
But when you get that, and I have that with my boys, like, it's not like you're whooping them and hitting them all the time, but like when it's time to put that foot down, it's time to put that foot down. It's a different hit. It's a different hit.
Yeah. And now I'm pretty sure, even though Coach was getting on you, hearing you talk about your mom, I'm pretty sure you would rather take that from him than for him to let mom know what went on, and then you got to deal with her too.
Because you didn't want to hear her mouth. See, all that. He's like, yeah, all right, got you.
Yeah.
So hear all that.
You spoke on playing on the playground. I always say that I think the two things that's potentially missing in today's game, from a mental standpoint, talk about mental toughness, playing on asphalt and playing with a rubber basketball, right? Because ain't nothing like playing with that rubber ball. And, like, So at 6'6", as you say, now you're growing taller, but at 6'6", how did playing on the playground, that asphalt, maybe the asphalt wasn't totally blacktop, right? Almost concrete, but playing with that rubber ball, how did that help you develop your game as a guard playing on the playground?
Yeah, because like the playground game is the true essence of the game. It doesn't cost any money. You get that rubber ball. You probably found it in the alley.
Yeah.
You got a ball.
Yeah.
So and you playing on the concrete. And at this time, man, and it's sad. I hate it doesn't happen anymore. Like you playing against grown men and older kid, like guys. Like I was a young kid, 11, 12 years old, playing against grown men.
Yeah.
Who talking smack. They elbowing you, and there's no time for crying.
Mm-hmm.
Like you grow up fast and you got to be tough. So you take that toughness, like man, you can't be soft.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn the game, man. You learn how to play without the ball. Because when you're young and up and coming, they ain't passing you the rock.
Right.
They trying to win. So you better guard, you better rebound, you better move, because we ain't passing you the rock. And you just there's a certain level of toughness that I learned. I mean, we talking about chain nets, double rims.
There you go.
Like the action, man. It was nothing better to me than going to Fairground Park and everybody gets off of work or they done and the sun has went down. It's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and the park is jammed. And you got to learn how to win. So you pick your five, because if you lose, then you done. Like you learn. So like every possession count. It was so many lessons that was learned on the program I hate when you drive by a playground and you don't see the kids. I can't give my young son, they country club. My son's from country club. They can't, the playground. They work out at Duke. Like the K Center, Cameron. No, you know what I'm saying? They just you can't. It just you can't. So
now what I heard you say to CC, playing on the playground, it not only helped your skills on the court, but it also helped your decision making, because to your point, you got to pick a five that's going to win. Because if you lose, you might not play for another 3-4 games unless somebody came right back and picked you. And that can be a situation. Oh man, he just got off the court. We've been sitting on the side. So the decision making, I was talking to a group of clients that I have the other day, and I was talking to them about just situational awareness. Like you gotta, because even, and it's different in today's game, but in today's age, but I'm pretty sure there were fights, or there were girls, or there were gang bangers probably betting on the game. It was stuff, and you had to know everything that was going on around you. We call it keep your head on a swivel, because at the playground, anything could happen, but you were more focused on winning, because if you lost, now you were subject to all those other things.
100%. Or you going home.
Going
home in the summertime with a high house. Ain't no AC. My mom got the fan without the screen, the blade that cut you in the ass. Excuse my French. So you get too close for it, your finger is getting cut off. So you don't want to go home. We ain't got no money. It's hot. You drink all the Kool-Aid, ate all the bologna sandwiches you get. You don't want to be in the house. And so you got, it's game time and it's serious. And amongst the other things that's going around, you better lock in on that court, man. And if the girls is watching, you want to, you know what I'm saying? You try to prove that too. But it was just a time to be alive, man. It was a time to be alive, man.
Absolutely. And so you all go on to win a state championship, not only your junior year, AA state championship, but then y'all come back and you do it again. How hard is it mentally, right? How hard is it? And now it goes back to discipline. How challenging was it, let me ask, to go back to back?
It was challenging. that first championship was the hardest. We had the hard road. You know, we had a heartbreaking loss my sophomore year, Jahadi senior year. Then we go back down to states. We win basically on a game winner, and we end up winning, you know, with the state championship as a junior. And then you go back, you know, our schedule. We played a nationally scheduled,
Mm-hmm.
a national schedule at that time. So we took some lumps, some losses, but it all prepared us for that state run. And actually, my senior year, that state run was relatively easily. You know,
Mm.
it was tough in terms of like the journey, but
Mm-hmm.
once we had got to the playoffs, we wanted to go out on top. And you know, my favorite player growing up was Magic Johnson. Although I think MJ the best player of all time,
I'm
my
the
favorite
same.
player,
My
my
favorite player.
favorite player is Magic. And you
Yep.
know, if you grew up watching the Showtime Lakers and Larry Bird and the Celtics, it was about winning.
Yep.
How can I, you know, it was nothing about winning. It wasn't about how many points you scored.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when Jordan took over, that's when it became about points. You know, but like Magic and Bird, those guys, it was about winning, and so I always wanted to win everything I was part of, and winning two state high school champions. They can't take it away, man. They can't take it
Mm-hmm.
away.
Now, as a kid, growing up, Brent Musburger, Pat O'Brien, CBS, right? Lakers, Celtics. In that era, watching Phil Henderson, you know, and Phil's from our area, Illinois, and Johnny Dawkins, and right now,
Yeah.
the very first time that you saw Coach K, like walk in the gym for you, can you describe that feeling?
Um. Yeah. To be honest with you, Coach, I really wasn't a Duke fan. You know,
Yep.
I'm from St.
Yep.
Louis. It was
Right. Right.
UNLV. It's
Right.
Larry Johnson. You
Yep.
got the gold tooth. It's Stacey
Yep.
Augst. It's Greg
Yep.
Anthony. You
Yep.
know, it's those guys. Then it's the Fab Five.
Yep.
You know, it's the Fab Five. You hated like when UNLV lost to Duke in '91. I was heartbroken. It was
Pain.
heartbreaking. You know, and so it's like, you know, Coach K, you respected him, but it wasn't like, you know, it's like, yeah, it's Coach K. And then we got a real dose of reality. I'm gonna tell you when it was like, oh man, this is Coach K. It wasn't like the fact that he was in the gym. Is he came to my high school because he couldn't do the visit at my house because we couldn't take him to the hood, so we had to take him to the high school. And we take him to the high school, and everybody went wild.
Wow.
The teachers, you know, the
Wow.
students, like Coach K is in the building. Then this is back in '95 now.
Right.
Coach K, this is '95. He in the building. And the impact, and we talking about like all black, but Coach K had that like, you know,
Flavor.
he had that, and it was different. And you know, like I said, Coach K was really honest. I didn't, I didn't really like him. To be honest. Not, I ain't gonna say I didn't really like him, but he was like, you know, he was like, bring it right to your face, and
Mm.
that was right up my mom alley.
Yep.
And my
Yep.
mom was the one who was like, yo,
She loved him.
bro, God put it on my heart, Chris. I want you to go to Duke. I talked to God, and because she respected Coach K and said, look, this is the guy that can get you to the next level. You go to Duke, and moms are usually right, and she was right on that one.
Um, so I'm gonna pause right there for a minute because I want to stay right there. Now that you're on the other side, right? And I never took for granted, never take for granted. And you talk about your boys, um, and you know your oldest son, you know, finished his college career, but like you never take for granted the adults or the people that you're entrusting your kids with, right? Like that means a hell of a lot to a parent. And I don't take it for granted as a coach. And as a head coach, like walking into those living rooms or sitting down with that family is a different experience often than seeing them on the court playing. But now as a coach, can you talk about how that moment that you know that connection between the head coach, Coach K, and your mom? Can you talk about like how does that play into your recruiting, being able to get the parents to trust you?
Yeah, it's everything. And and I got a chance to watch the master.
Yeah.
Coach K was a master at connectivity. He
Mm.
can connect with anyone. He go to
Mm.
any hood and he good. He good. You
Connectivity.
know, yeah, he could connect, man. And you talking about the inner city mom at that time. He was able to hit. He has a way of saying something that's gonna hit home to everybody he recruits. Whether you go to Duke or not,
Yeah.
you leave like, man, this dude is sharp and master communicator.
Mm.
He was an unbelievable coach, right? We know about the championships, the Final Fours, but he mastered communication and leadership. He mastered, and so his greatest say one thing wrong. He could be amongst LeBron, those greatest greats, or he can go into the inner city of wherever, Chicago, St. Louis, and he has a presence that's
Mm.
undeniable. It's really
Mm.
undeniable.
Mm. Okay.
And so that's important when it's recruiting. When it comes to recruiting, that's what you got to have. That's what you got to have. You got to be able to. You got to. If I'm recruiting your kid, coach, your kid got, and you got to be like, yo, it's something about that guy I like, I
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you ain't sending your kid there. You like, no, I don't. You got to feel it. And with Coach K, you felt it. Now I
That's
didn't feel it, but my mom did.
and because she felt it, you felt a little something because she felt it, or you felt a connection to your mom, if nothing else.
And nothing else. And nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that's big when you talk about connectivity because I always say that I think athletes want to play for coaches. Then they want to play for or with other players. Then they want to play for the front name on the jersey. I think a lot of people get it twisted and just want to go for the name on the front. And the way that the game is now, so many people moving and changing, going different places. Um, it's a little bit different, but ultimately, players, I believe, want to play for coaches because of that connectivity status that you mentioned. So now you go to Duke. Here's a question that I want to ask you, CC. How like coming off a great high school run, now going to Duke, where was the disconnect for you? Was it like in the translation? I always say athletes from high school to college get lost in the translation. They don't understand the language. Or was it the effort, the energy, the expectations? What was missing from being so great in high school, but now you're going to Duke? Or was it fairly easy to go in jail?
That was the hardest thing ever. I
Mm,
think where the competition is steep.
mm,
It's another level of pressure. Everybody at Duke was a McDonald's All-American. Everybody is so you accustomed to being a star and playing the entire game. 32 minutes in high school now. My first game ever in a Duke uniform, I played 6 minutes.
mm.
That's insane. And
Yeah.
so now you got competing every day against the best of the best. And that's hard. And so you got to play a role.
Mm,
You don't get the same amount of shots. You got to play every play as if it was your last. Like, so you can't take plays off. You got to bring it every day in practice. You playing in the biggest games with the biggest stakes. That right there was the adjustment, man. Believing like, am I this good? Am I in too far on my head? This coach is on my ass every day. You know, which my high school coach was, but when you the star, you kind of, you get that treatment. Coach K
mm-hmm.
didn't care who you were, star or not. If you wasn't up to the standard, he was on you every day, nonstop, all the time. And so I had to adjust to that. And it probably took me to my junior year where I was
Really?
able to, yeah. My first 2 years, although they were good, I didn't really understand his message until my junior year.
Mm.
And that's when I took off. My last 2 years, I started every game, 34, let me see, 39, 34. So 73 games in a row I started. Well,
Wow.
actually 78, because at the end of my sophomore year, I started in the tournament. but I understood what he was saying. I could take what he was saying, listen to it, hear it, and then apply it to the basketball court. So if he said, "Look, I need somebody who can shut the other person's top score down," I got it, coach. I need the guys that so I knew what he was saying, and that's what earned me minutes. I wasn't the best shooter. I wasn't the most athletic, but I could provide versatility. But I understood the messaging. And so I can play that role. You got to play a role if you're not the superstar to get on the court. How can you earn minutes? And that was the way I earned minutes. And then I can show my game. I knew I had some game, but you
Right.
can't show it from the bench. You got to
Exactly.
get on the court if you ain't the star. And so I was able to do that.
So, because I like to make this practical for the coaches, the parents that's watching, for their athletes.
Yep.
And, for the coaches, the parents, and the athletes. But can you give, in today's game, how can athletes better understand the messaging that's coming from their coaching staff? Because I firmly believe that it's okay for athletes to ask their coach questions, just don't question your coach. But like how, because you said it took you 2 years. Yeah. In today's game, the world is moving, like it's so fast, no 4-year scholarships. That year or them first couple months, the right program, it may get you sent home because you're not understanding, or it gets you to the bench. Now your confidence level drops. Mentally, you're out of it. Now you're not performing. You're under right performing. We're going to get rid of you. Talk about, like, now, how do you help your players understand that shortcut, understand what I'm saying, understand what Coach Shire is saying, understand what Coach K is saying, understand what Coach Wojo is saying? How do you get them to shortcut that?
Man, it's the hardest thing, man. That I think the thing for coaches, especially if you play, is you always try to put yourself in their shoes. And so I can come to them from, I've been there before. I know how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I know how you feel. I know it's tough. And so I'm able to talk to them in a way where they like, okay, all right, shit ain't easy. It's tough. It's difficult. But if you do these things, I'm not going to guarantee you anything, but it'll help your situation. And then you start to get the coaches see you doing those things. Then they start to trust. The biggest thing for players is to earn the coach's trust. And you got to see, and I would say the other thing, you got to see the game through the coach's eyes, not your eyes, the coach's eyes. I know how you see the game. Everybody see the game as their self being a big-time star, shooting and scoring all the points. That's not going to be everybody's role. So once you're able to understand your role from the coach's perspective, the head coach's perspective, then you'll be fine. And so I try to give these guys my real life experiences, things I've gone through on the basketball court, and try to help them out. Sometimes it works, coach. Sometimes it don't.
And as we getting ready to close it out, and so I titled the show Improve, not only being from St. Louis, the Show Me State, but I believe, right, and just doing my research on you've had to prove yourself and be better than your last self every place that you've went, from high school to winning a championship, later on freshman, sophomore year, not playing a lot, junior year getting it, going to the Final Four, championship game, senior year, like consensus All-American, going overseas, coming back, D-League, going back overseas, ABA, going back overseas, but you've constantly been able to show and prove yourself time and time again. But as you talk about the connectivity, knowing that, understanding the language, the messaging with Coach K, how did that then help you foster the career that you had after Duke?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you with some, and I hope whoever's listening. the one thing that I learned at Duke, and it's a real life, it's one of the realest statements uh, that I've learned from Coach. The most authentic and realest thing I ever learned from Coach, and his next play, next
Mm.
play. And so that's in the game of basketball, but also in the game of life, right? You're gonna have your ups and downs, your trials and tribulations. How do you respond from adversity? How do you respond from success? That's what Coach K was the greatest at. Remember, he loses his first two national championship games, 86 to Louisville, 90 to UNLV,
Mm.
right? And he goes on to win back-to-back 5 national championships later, the greatest coach, college coach of all time, one of the greatest coaches. But he wouldn't be able to do that if he stayed with that Louisville loss in 86 and
Mm.
never got better as a coach. And 90 against Vegas when they lose by 30 to the national championship game. He wouldn't be able to respond for that. And so you're gonna deal with some things in life. And I try to tell my sons, it's like, yeah, man, it ain't gonna be all peaches and cream. You gotta be able to take your losses, things that you didn't do well, things that might have gone wrong in your life, on the court, off the court, and move on. I'm not saying you don't talk about it and it doesn't make you upset or sad, but the quicker you can move on, next play mentality, the better you will be. And that's the one thing in my life. Like it ain't all been easy. And the times that I haven't moved on to the next play quickly and dwelled in that sorrow or that disappointment, is the times where I fell flat on my face. But the times that I have moved on and been
Yeah,
able to move on to the next play, I've done well.
that's interesting because Emmanuel Dildy was talking about the same thing that you all tell players: the faster they can get over themselves, the faster that they can get to their desired result.
No doubt. No doubt.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Coach, man, I want to ask you one more question before I get you out of here because I know that you're running. So as a former Duke player, can you talk about the fist,
Yeah, yeah.
the
I get
components
you the fifth. Yeah,
of
the
the fist?
five. Yeah, yeah, the five. Trust, care, collective responsibility, pride, and communication.
Okay.
Is that five?
Yep.
I think that's
Yep.
five.
Yep.
And the trust, the trust was basically trusting your teammates, having each other's back. Um, you know, so in a game, if Wojciechowski was to get beat, he could trust that I'm gonna be there to cut off the baseline or be
Mm,
on the help side, right?
yeah.
Pride in the name that's on the front of the jersey and not the name on the back.
Mm,
Communication. Our program was built on talk. Coach didn't like a quiet gym. If you were a quiet person off the court, you couldn't be that on the court. He was talking over communication was his thing. Collective responsibility. Like five guys playing as one.
mm,
Five guys playing as one. And then the care factor. You gotta care. And I never seen a guy that as a coach, like I think the care factor for me is like the time you put in on and work on your craft. I've been one of the fortunate players to play for him, but I also work for him. And
yeah.
I've seen like this dude, 75 years old, man, stand up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Like the care that he had for his guys,
Yeah.
it was unmatched. So that's the fist in a nutshell, man.
And y'all used to hold that up
Hold
at
it up.
in times of adversity to remind each other what was going on.
What was going on?
Man, CC, we can probably do this forever, man. I appreciate your time. I'm extremely happy for you, man. We met at Marquette and connected just well. Um, you know, I take my hat off to your wife. I didn't get a chance to ask this question, but a coach's wife, man, is a special person.
Special person.
Man,
Special person.
special
Yeah,
person, and often the backbone to us as coaches. So I know that
no doubt.
she means a lot to you and your kids. Um, in parting, how can we help basketball become better?
Man, just giving it, just paying it forward, just being there. As our game is to pay it forward, give these kids the best of us, teach them, pour into them, but care for them. Build a relationship. If they see you just about basketball, like they're gonna tune you out eventually. But if they see that you care for them as a person, human being, that's where you could take these kids and reach new limits. That's what I would tell coaches.
Care about your players.
Care about your players. And
that's amazing, man. I always say, right? Continue to strive for the top because it is crowded as hell at the bottom. CC, I know you're in Vegas. I'm gonna let you go, my brother.
All right, brother.
Good luck to y'all, man, going forward. I definitely told Emmanuel that I'll be down there to catch one of the games in Cameron. But
come check us out. Come check us out, man.
Being great, continue being a master recruiter, continue giving back to the game. And I appreciate you, man, for coming on our show and just pouring back and giving people the truth.
All right, Coach. Take it easy, buddy.
Sir. All right. Talk to you later, CC.
All right.
All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all a little bit later. Until next show. Keep striving for the top. Peace.
Yo, just so you understand it, this is Coach Carrawell Bailey's program with the spirit of Bob Hambry. This is Blessed to Ball, helping athletes, and we represent. Study your craft, your mentality leads to excellence. It's all about your mindset. We'll never stop addressing this, so be positive and not a pessimist. Confidence took James Harden higher. If you really want it, it ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard as carbon fiber, but we got you. From counseling to workshops, we do it. You'll go farther with a scholarship. We'll help you get recruited. Yo, anyone can dribble and shoot, but it's the ones who study basketball internally that make it to Duke University. Knowledge goes around. The game is played from the neck up and not from the shoulders down. This is Blessed to Ball, helping you with obstacles. The athletes are the rocket. Blessed to Ball is the rocket fuel. If you hit a wall, we can help you slowly climb it. So keep a Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant. Blessed to Ball. Cherish the opportunities that you have. Blessed to Ball. Use your mentality to master the craft. Blessed to Ball. Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Cherish the opportunities that you have. Use your mentality to master the craft. Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Yo, Coach Carrawell Bailey. Hey, listen to your coach, man. He ain't no scrub off the street. That man got credentials, academic and street. Believe it, and my name is strategic.